the last home football game, the last homecoming dance, and eventually the last day of high school. Even though all of these last moments are important, none can truly compare to the last cross-country season, the last race, the last time you're sitting with your teammates at spaghetti dinner, and finally the last goodbyes. It seems that many people these days have the misconception that goodbyes are a bad thing. It's most often understood that goodbyes are sad. But I believe that goodbyes can be a positive thing, but I'll come back to that. I think it's always good to begin with the first, and looking back on how far I've come from that first summer practice of my sophomore year to now, I've changed a lot. I had never participated in track or cross country during middle school, so I was worried coming to the season that I wouldn't be able to compete with others. In the beginning, I felt like that if I wasn't putting points on the board, then I didn't matter, and I quickly learned this wasn't true. I worked hard all summer, and when it came down to the first race, I was more nervous than ever. The worst feeling was standing at the starting line, thrown into a crowd of bodies and not knowing where I belonged, not knowing if this is where I fit in among everyone else. After that race, I finished 7th on the team, and I had never felt more proud of myself, to run with who I believed were the best of the best. The people that I looked up to every practice, the people that I wanted to eventually run with. This concept of being good athletically was very new to me, and I later learned my place never defined what made me good, and the qualities that it took to define a good runner were really undefinable themselves. Shortly after my race, I started to dream big. I wanted to improve more than ever, and I seemed to start feeling more comfortable with the team. During the next few races, I was stuck in the infamous varsity and non-varsity limbo, which is known all too well on our team. I felt discouraged. I had set goals to be scoring on varsity, and I wanted to break into the 17s, which at this point I felt was unattainable. I remember coming into the Stockbridge meet with a fiery passion to break into the 17s, even though I hadn't even broken into the 18s yet. I knew all too well this was the fastest course we would race on all year. After the race, I had run an 18:51, and sadly I was ungrateful with a decent time, and I convinced myself that any chance I had of running in the 17s was out the window. That is until Calvin Smith spoke to me. Calvin at this time was a senior captain. He was a great runner, and anyone could tell you that Calvin worked hard to get to where he was. Calvin stuck out to me more than anyone else because he seemed to see something in me that no one else did, not even myself. After the race at Stockbridge, he told me that this team needed me, that this team was with me, and that I had the potential more than anyone to improve. I was confused in what Calvin believed he saw in me. Sure, I was improving pretty consistently, but I would also have bad races here and there, and I didn't seem anywhere near the level where runners like Calvin competed in. The next race was the Calhoun County Championship on our home field. I remember vividly how exhausted I was that day, how unfocused I was, how I felt weak and tired and drained. When we were finally positioned at the starting line, I started to feel something stronger than weakness and pressure, and that was anger. I was angry at myself for not running what I wanted. I was angry that I had worked so hard and I felt like I couldn't prove any greater. But most importantly, I was angry that I had not lived up to Calvin's expectations just yet. During that race, I ran with the feeling I had only felt 3 times in my entire life. A feeling that I needed something so badly, I would run till I couldn't run just to achieve it. I would run till my legs collapsed underneath me and my spit turned to blood. That day I ran at 17:47, completely crushing my PR. This is really long. From just the last race by over a minute. I'll never forget what Calvin said after the race, and I quote, "I told you that there is a lot on your back, and I'm really proud of the way you stepped up. You literally have a team riding with you. Thanks for accepting my advice. You're the one that has earned it." I responded to Calvin by saying, "It looks like the pressure is on now." And Calvin responded with, "Not pressure, hype. You have to live up to that." After the race, I'll never forget the award ceremony, when the team was called up to receive the first place trophy and coach decided to hand it to me. I had never felt more proud of myself, of my teammates, of my family. I had made everyone proud. I had done my best, and this time my best was enough. This was another feeling I had only felt 3 times in my life. That next year, I was elected as a team captain, something I never imagined I would be able to achieve, and the daunting task of filling Calvin's shoes seemed impossible. This season was also the beginning of my long line of recurring injuries that seemed to plague me every season. That fall, I came to the season already with soreness and pain, but as many people know, I kept that to myself. With the new title of captain, I felt as though I had to always be on top of my game. I didn't want to be handicapped. I hated the idea of working less, of not challenging myself, of not training with the varsity because of injury. To not work as hard as they did and to believe I could compete at their level felt disrespectful. As the season began, I already was running in the 18s and I feel like I had a great start. But as races went by, I seemed to be stuck in the 18s, which to me was a letdown considering I had planned to run consistent 17s all season. This was the beginning of my ultimate fear of disappointment. I was a captain. I ran varsity last year. I felt as though I should have been running much better than I was, but yet I was stuck. My injuries, more specifically my shin splints, became worse, and as each race went by, my fear of disappointing my team, my coach, and my parents increased. It soon got to the point where the pain was too great, and I had to start running less in order to recover. This is where the cripple crew originated from, and although we were an injured group that seemed to be split from the healthier group of runners, we were made up of the people that really held the team together. But I'll let Perry and Paul go into more detail about that next year. My process of recovery was a hard one, as I had to shave my legs in order to take them for the first time. Trusting myself with a razor was the worst decision I can make. But I didn't realize this until the night before the Stockbridge Invitational. That night, my razor burn decided to come out full force, and no amount of aloe vera could help. The pain was so unbearable that I laid in bed till 4 a.m., unable to fall asleep. By the time I was asleep, I had to wake up in 2 hours because the bus left around 6:30. With a total of 2 uncomfortable hours of sleep, I felt terrified. This was the meet once again where I knew I could break into the 17s. Luckily, Wade Foster was able to sense my anxiety and decided to make a deal with me. If I ran a time of exactly 17:30 or lower, then everyone on the team would have to shave their legs. I decided to shake on it just to humor him, not truly believing I could do it. Once again, as I stood at the starting line, my shins were killing me, my legs burned all over, and I struggled to stay focused as I was battled with tiredness. If you have ever stood at the starting line of a race and waited for the gun, you know the feeling of time unexplainably slowing down. Everything stops and you can only hear your heart beating against your chest and your breath escaping your lips. In this moment, the familiar feeling of anger seemed to flood in, and I forgot the pain and stress and anxiety that seemed to overwhelm me. My mind centered around my teammates, my coach, my family, the people that I didn't want to let down. I wanted nothing more than to win that bet, to break my PR, and to prove I belonged with the people around me. This is the second time in my life where I felt like I had never wanted anything more. That day, I ran exactly 17:30. I will never forget after that race the amount of excuses Brett made so he wouldn't be forced to shave his legs. This was the second time in my entire life where I couldn't feel more proud of myself, where I felt as though I had proven myself worthy of this team, part of the family. This is the last page. This letter finally brings me to my senior year. This season, in all honesty, was the hardest. People left and right seemed to be plagued with injury or illness, and morale was low. We seemed to go into the season with the highest hopes and goals imaginable, and when we didn't get to where we wanted, we fell victim to disappointment. Something I had been experiencing since my first season. Despite this trouble, my senior year was my favorite season. We oftentimes had excuses, but we didn't need excuses. Excuses imply that we did bad, that we didn't do what we wanted, and it took me 3 years to realize that we had what we wanted. Many people can look back and say the season didn't end how they wanted, but until you're huddled into a circle amongst your friends, the people that have stuck it out with you for so long, that moment, and that moment only, is when you realize that this season is more than just any other season. There are only 3 moments in my life where I can say I wanted something more than anything. That final moment wasn't at the Stockbridge Invitational, or even at the starting line. It was at the finish of the regional race. After that race, I wanted nothing more than to not be a disappointment to my coach, my parents, my teammates. The pain knowing I let the people I care about the most down would eat me up inside. My motivation for every race was the deep seat of disappointment. All my life, I worked to be looked at as part of something, to have a sense of belonging. And in truth, I had never wanted anything more than my team, for them to be able to see me the way I see them. There are only 3 moments in my life where I truly felt proud of this family, where others were proud of me. 3 moments where I can say I did my best and it was good enough. That was right after the race. I'll never forget seeing everyone, all the parents, coach, the team. They were happy. They were proud of me. I've learned more about this sport from you guys than I have ever learned from any practices or races. You see, this entire letter, I've been talking about myself, my experiences, but this sport was never about me. This letter was not written to be an autobiography on my cross-country career, but to hopefully give back to everyone who has always given to me. I wouldn't be the person I am today without the people that made it possible. I'll probably one day forget my PRs, my good races and bad races, but I'll never forget the moments at the team dinners, the countless bus rides, and most importantly, you guys. My greatest wish is that I could have made as big as an impact that you all have made on me. But most importantly, I want to thank the person I ran for, that I worked for, the person that I tried the hardest to never disappoint, Coach Casagrande. Coach seemed to see a characteristic of leadership that no one ever believed I possessed, but she did. The amount of times I said I was okay but probably wasn't is a little too many to count. But I hope you can understand and find the humor within my misjudgment. But most importantly, I hope in the end, Coach, you won't be able to remember a time where I let you down. And as the season finally closes, I have to confess that I lied in the beginning. This is not the last goodbye, but just the first. So I hope you will look forward to the many goodbyes that follow, and I hope that you may have learned something, because that is the single greatest thing I could have ever done for this family. And if you didn't already know, I love you all.